Pre-release events for Secrets of Power have come and passed, and we have some lessons that we learned. Tonight, we're going to dive into those lessons, redo our tier list, talk about some experiences we had over the weekend, go into these events, and after that, we're going to get started with really diving into Secrets of Power, some fun deck lists to go over for you all. I'm Jordan from the Colorado Cantina Crew, and tonight, I'm joined by my teammates, Kyle and Sharkey. Kyle, what's up?
Hey, how's it going, man? Recording a little late after some team activity, but I think we're still good to go.
Past my bedtime, just cleaned up some dog vomit. It's a beautiful day to be alive at 9:42 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
Old man Jordan ain't gonna make it.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. F's in the chat for me. Okay, so a lot to talk about tonight. In a short period of time, we had our pre-release events. I think we all went to at least like 3, maybe. I think maybe Shark, you go to 2. Two, off the screen, but 2. I went to like 4. Kyle, I think you went to around 4. Some lessons, some thoughts. We're gonna redo our tier list, and then, like I said, we have those deck lists to pop into. So overall, I think it was a really good pre-release cycle. The decks were really fun. There were some really cool interactions, but I think we were wrong on a few things. So let's just start there. Like, this was our tier list that we made for limited last week. What were we wrong on? And we'll save the Slime War section. We've got some great comments to put Sharky in his place there, and as I fix some of Kyle's camera here. But Kyle, what were you wrong about the most?
You know, I think probably Dedra. I think we all kind of, it was a group think, kind of a consensus that Dedra was up at the very tippy top.
Yeah.
That is not what happened. She did not perform there in any of the 4 I went to anyway. I mean, she was okay, but, probably top of B even, right? Compared to some of the other leaders, and at least in the performance that I saw. Now, I only went to 4 pre-releases. Maybe we play more, maybe I learn more over time, but she underperformed, at least in the events that I saw. It turns out giving your opponent the option, so when I'm going to do this thing and you get to choose what's going to happen, against good players, not so good.
I think
way better in Premier.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we were definitely wrong about Dedra. I also think that there is a lot more to be uncovered with limited prep. Obviously, we're getting ready for Seattle next week in Atlanta, and then a few weeks after that, we have a limited PQ here in Denver and during the first cycle. So we're gonna be working hard trying to get through all that stuff. But another thing to think about as we talk about this is that what we think is a lot different than what actually plays out in action. So like one thing that we our thoughts were different than the actual execution was in our pre-release video that we did, where we kind of thought that like Luthen actually had some game, where previous to that we really didn't think about him in any way connected to Anakin. So in that sense, one thing that I think we really missed outside of the Dedra conversation is Jabba. And I don't think anyone is as good as Leia right now, but I think if there is an argument for somebody else, it might be Jabba.
I tend to be a little lower on Jabba than everybody else. Now, that doesn't mean I think he's bad. I just don't quite see him as high powered as I've seen most of the rest of our conversations go offline on our Discord, right? I do think that his his ability when he's a unit, when he's flipped onto the field, is extremely powerful. You can set up some crazy trades with that. I'm less enthused about him as a leader overall because of the rest of the game. If he gets taken care of, he kind of feels like his deck just kind of folds, which, to be fair, is actually relatively tough, especially if you give him extra health. Like, he can be a big, fat slug. But I do think he's extremely solid. And I think you're right about the Leia comment that there's nobody in the same, I would almost say galaxy, but that might be too big. But
Kyle?
Yeah, Leia stands alone. She's in tier Leia, right? Like, you rename it to tier. I think that's what it is. But I do agree with you on Jabba. It might be a little pool dependent, but he's definitely the better control leader. I saw a lot of very good builds that involve Jabba doing kind of an early game control. To your point, Sharky, flipping with something to boost his health to keep him on the board, or putting him behind a sentinel, that sort of thing. Was very good. It was very powerful, and there's a lot of good blue-green villain, bigger things that you can delay to and then close out the game with. So I did like Jabba as well. I agree with him as being in the top of A.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know that I personally underrated Satine. I'm not going to put her in the same tier as Jabba. But in a pinch for me, I would have her middle of B tier, and I would still probably play her over half of what's in the B tier currently. After having had a chance to / was forced into using that because my pool dictated that I kind of needed to use her as my leader. There were multiple times where she actually saved my units and I was able to keep board control because I was able to keep the units on there, and she restores 4, which is a massive amount of healing you can put on the base.
So I was setting you up. I was going to set you up with Sharkey. What were you wrong about? Give yourself a chance to talk about Sly more. So
oh no, I wasn't wrong about Sly. I've not seen a good Sly yet.
So I actually I'm gonna come out here with a relatively hot take for us, at least. Last week, if you guys missed it, we did our conversation doing this tier list, and how we did it was we all kind of said what we thought, and then we tried to reach consensus among the three of us. So I think Kyle and I were both a little bit higher on Sly more than Sharkey was. I personally think, as of now, I would rather have Sly more than Dedra.
Sly on her leader side, very good. Very good. I think one of the biggest knocks I had was her leader side. I thought was just unusable. In the games that I saw, it happened a couple times a game. I was thinking it happened 0. It happened a couple. It wasn't,
a few.
It wasn't awful. So I agree. At least getting her out of C. I don't know if I'd go all the way to the top of B, but out of C, she definitely deserves a promotion.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Sharky, thoughts, comments, concerns, questions?
Look, if she's getting bumped up a tier, put her at the bottom. I would not play her over Satine.
Interesting. I think my wager is, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, I bet by the end of this set, we're going to see Sly held in a much better regard than just about anyone in tier B that we have here. Another honorable mention that I think is kind of interesting is, and it is a rare, so it's challenging, but Cassian. I think that he has some solid game here. It just makes it challenging to play against. There's some relatively big units that can push around his flip turn, whether it's like that 7/6 red tank or other things along those lines. I think that he's pretty solid.
So when you were asking Sharky to eat some crow on one of his predictions, I thought for sure you were about to say Bale. That dude is as unplayable as I said.
Okay.
He is a D. Nobody played him. I was sitting next to multiple people.
I didn't see a single person play him. That's true.
They didn't play him. I sat next to multiple people, pulled him. They pulled him, and they go, "Oh, I have one plot card I can play. Bale's unplayable." That was what it was over and over and over. I saw people try to play Bale, look at how many playable plot cards they had, and go, "Yeah, I can't play him."
Look, so based on that metric, Sly does not belong in B tier. I had the same experience with Sly. There's lots of people around me pulled Sly, couldn't play her. So that's pretty anecdotal.
Well, I mean,
Sly dependent on.
I think
Sly is dependent on plot cards, right?
I think Sly has quite a bit of synergies, right? There's quite a few exhaust cards this set. There's the Snub Fighter, there's Nimble Prowess, there's Bogged Down in was it Bureaucracy or something like that?
Whether cards exist that can help her leader ability. The point is whether you'd rather play her over any other leader that is possible to play. And I think the answer for me right now is no. And I don't know why I would play a yellow villainy leader when I could just play a yellow base and grab a different villainy leader.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you made your point. I think I disagree.
That's fine.
Kyle, what say you?
On Sly?
Yeah.
I'd keep Sly in B. I'm not going to put Sly up into A, but I just think the flip side is so good. It can just go on a rampage, especially if you can protect it.
Yeah. Rapid fire. Sly or Salby?
Sly.
I'm sorry. I want to hear from Kyle. Sly or Yularen?
Oh, Yularen, and I'm going to make the case to move Yularen up.
Yeah, I was going to make that point too. So can we get
Sly or Satine? Sly or Padme?
Sly, and Padme is another one that is just, you can't turn Padme on. Her ability doesn't do anything. I found out there's so few options or opportunities to turn that on. I was disappointed.
Sly or Cassian?
Cassian.
Sly or Dedra?
Theoretically, still Dedra. I haven't given up.
So we have her right here. All right. So Yularen was the next mention. Make the case.
Go ahead, Sharky. I'll add.
Action cheating is good. That's really the only case you need to make. This guy can put some aggro heat out real fast, real hard. His flip side is a 4/6, which is still pretty good himself, especially if you plot something on him. The damage stacks up with him very quickly. There's not a whole lot else. It's a pretty straightforward game plan with him, and I think he does a good job of making it happen.
Yeah, I'll just give some trauma that happened to me. If they go turn one gonk droid into this clown, and now all of a sudden they gonk into something bigger, so they have that bigger unit to activate his ability and do the double attack, the game ends quickly. So he was very good as an aggressive leader. It surprised me, especially if you can get some space units to go with him that you can keep cheating attacks with. He was pretty effective, and his body is pretty scary too.
I didn't get a chance to play with him at all this weekend, so I'll hold back judgment and take it from there. But I heard some really cool sequences going around the different events. Like, for instance, we've all mentioned that like Jabba is brutal when he's deployed and he could do those trades. Yularen, in theory, is one of the few abilities that would allow you to trade into Jabba with one action rather, or 2 attacks more likely. So that's an interesting little sequence there. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff. I mean, I think that this set is there's a lot of uncovering to do, what a lot of diving deep into this limited kind of ecosystem, especially as we get towards our PQs. I think my wager is as we look towards that PQ on December 6th at Mythic, that we'll see quite a bit of a mix up and differences than we saw from this past weekend.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Move Yularen up in between Cassian and Sly, I think, just so that we leave it in a happy state.
In a good place.
Happier state.
Cool. So I think that's good for this, right? Any final notes that you guys want to hit on? I mean, I guess one thing that I'll just kind of put a little footnote is that Mon was like solid, but not anything special. I think Mon is really pool dependent, but can also make some really good some really like not so good pools work, right? Like there were a lot of situations when I played Mon over these past few days where I had like really tough color choices. Like one of the days I played, I had like 5 green cards, and I was able to make it work because of her ability and stuff like that, but a little bit more pool dependent than expected.
I think Mon reminds me of the expression, like, she's just the vegetables of the set. Sometimes you just need to play the best pool you have, and the best pool may need to include outside of 2 aspect colors there. And I think she does a good job of helping make it so that you can make, put some spices on the vegetables.
Yeah. And they're cool officials, right? The Constable, They have Ambush, they have Bounce, or Kyle, go ahead.
Yeah, I gave Mon a little grief last week when we talked about it. I'd probably push her up above Luthen. I won one of my 4 that I went to undefeated with Mon, and it was just having all those officials. There's that green card that gives a +1/+1 to 3 separate officials. I had like 3 of those, and it got gross. She did work.
Very true. All right, let's hop over and talk about some fun decks that we're thinking about diving into, and I guess I'll just take it away with one. And that on my end is Mon Mothma. So I'll zoom out a little bit. Oh, that's actually perfect. Okay. So this deck's been really fun to play. It has some weaknesses, like any Unity of Purpose deck. I know Thork made a video about this earlier in the spoiler section of the off season, but really, really cool synergies here. You have a lot of great officials that you could flood the board with. And I think one of the main differences between Mon Mothma and Rex from this perspective is that you have 2 really great token engines in this deck with Chancellor Palpatine unit and Bail Organa. And when you're able to combo those together, it's really powerful, because Bail could discard and Chancellor Palpatine create. So like the perfect line here, I believe, is something along the lines of Bail into 3-drop. That could be Tucci, that could be Rancis, that could be anything along those lines, into Chancellor Palpatine unit, into Mon Mothma flip with Palpatine plot, making a ton of units with droid manufactory, and then Unity of Purpose, right? There are different variations of that where you could resupply in between and not go with Chancellor Palpatine double yellow unit, but a lot of really cool synergies here, and it's an explosive deck. I think 2 things that this deck really added, in addition to the token generation that I mentioned, is just batch restore, right? You have Chandralin that could combo with Tucci and Mina and Akbar. All of a sudden, you could be healing 15 in a turn, and that's without the headline healer, which is the renowned dignitaries. That allows you to heal 2 for each official in play. And Padmail, obviously, really solid unit. Or Amidala.
Yeah,
fantastic.
It's a fun new deck, right?
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, and I personally, I'm on this over Rex. I think that this is better than Rex, but open to conversation there and stuff. They're just more. I think the units that you get here have better abilities than the Rex standard units, right? Oppo could be very powerful, especially when paired with Tucci, right? That gives other people restore, and it just kind of chains together. So a lot of fun things here. You also have some flexibility with like regional governor and outer rim constable and stuff like that. You really are surprised the amount of like little officials there are that you're allowed to mess around with.
It's funny to me that Mothma seems like the deck that DJ wants to be, being that it can be a double color with off aspect stuff that still just works.
Yeah,
like it's kind of funny that way to me.
Well, look at what the role players are, right? Like Palpatine, role player creates and readies tokens, and the sideboard, regional governor, the constable, Bale, like they're just kind of role players. But
really some variants are also running command too, though. So they have double green command, they have double green unity of purpose, and then you can still run those role players like you were talking about.
Totally. Good card draw, good everything. We'll put the links for this and everything else in the description. This is a deck that I'll probably be working on a little bit. Not my main project, but one that I'm having a lot of fun with. And I know one that Sharky's having a lot of fun with is the Dedra Tarkintown. And we might be downgrading her a little bit in the limited environment, but seems like a pretty fun and strong deck here as well.
This is probably my favorite double red deck that I think has existed in the game. And that's not huge praise given how not so great they've been in the past, but like this one feels legit. Papanoid is very good as a double red card. Aggression is also very good, especially in a meta where I expect to see a lot of pilot aggro in general, or just even pilots, whether it's aggro or not. Combine that with the new card of Zero Karn being fantastic in this deck. Also does something a very powerful effect that can combine with Dedra's ability to just wipe something off the board, or basically set it up so you have to choose to draw a card sometimes. And so it's fun because it's mostly an aggro deck that has a little bit of extra grind to it. It can go a little later than most of the double red decks you would expect, and Tarkintown can cover a lot of the weaknesses or force your opponent into some really bad decisions that they have to make with Dedra's ability. So generally speaking, it's a really fun deck. I've had a lot of fun playing with it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the king deck right now, or the queen deck, I guess we should say, of killing you when you're not expecting it, right? Like hitting somebody for 11 to end the game with aggressive negotiations. Late at night, you're not paying attention, and then boom, just get nailed with it. I think
more fun with Dryden Voss.
Yeah. I think there are some, like, similar to Mothma, there's some really cool role players in this deck too, right? Like Crosshair could really push damage. You have the Academy Disciplinarian, which could push a lot of damage. Dryden Voss could really end the game with different sequences and stuff like that. And it does seem a little bit hardier, right? Go ahead, Cal.
What? I like that you got a Battle of Hoth card in there. That's cool. And then obviously just having Cyril thematically with Dedra is just fun.
Yeah,
totally makes sense.
And how cool is Cyril's Prestige also? Right,
I love it.
It's one of my favorites of the set, and he is just like a little shit too, which is great. But yeah, I think this is a fun deck, and I think it's a cool departure from like the Sabine Red archetype, where it's like so many like little one cost units and stuff like that. This is mostly a little bit of a more stout environment here with a lot of 2/3s, a lot of 2/2s and stuff like that, and good buffs. Obviously not a lot of removal, some pings that you could get going, but I think it's a fun aggro deck. Yeah.
With the ones, did you mean Cad Weenies? You said Sabine. I don't know. There's not a lot of Sabine decks with ones, right?
No, the Sabine Tarkintown, right, where they're running like all the they're going super wide, right? Yeah. So I just think it's an interesting, like, obviously we saw Boba Tarkintown a little bit last set, but that was never got the same type of popularity as yellow or green, obviously. And I think that this is like a little bit of a different build, right? Like when's the last time we really saw like an aggro villain red deck that was doing stuff like this. Obviously, Boba, like what I mentioned, that was more of a pilot build.
I was thinking Kylo Tarkentown.
Yeah,
it operates in a different way, discard rather than draw. But
yeah,
similar.
Kylo feels like the closest thing to it when I've played it before, just because of the buff with the extra damage. But even then, I think Dedra's got a little bit more grind to her, whereas Kylo can go slightly faster.
Yeah. I could definitely see that, especially with the first turn almost guaranteed Tarkentown, where you probably don't want to activate Dedra on turn 1 here in most circumstances, would be my guess.
Not the worst.
Yeah. So speaking of another deck that's not the worst, we have Cassian Data Vault. Kyle's been playing that a lot. Really fun build. I was playing a lot in the beginning parts of the set as well. Still messing around with it a little bit. I think it's really fun, and there's a lot. I think that the easy thing to do is say it's like not as good Sabine, but I think it's just different Sabine.
Yeah, we wanted to each pull up a leader in a deck with a new leader, to talk about. And this is one that I pulled the showcase for, so I'm going to play this deck, right? This one, to your point, being different than Sabine is interesting because you really, really want the initiative with this deck.
Yeah.
So as you can see, I'm doing a lot of action cheating here between the 1-drops to get 2 attacks, even Ahsoka to get, multiple attacks, Fleet Lieutenant, the ship, Cinta. I really want to end up obviously with initiative, and that's to enable both sides of the Cassian leader, right? Data Vault I think makes more sense to when you're saying, hey, is this just worse Sabine? Yeah, it's not the same as Sabine ECL, and with this deck, you are going to go a little longer. You have a later flip, so you're going to need a little more health to get there. You're trying to get to the center, that sort of thing. But it is a lot of fun. I do enjoy it. It does put your opponent in a lot of really awkward positions where they're feeling like, I want to play something, but I should probably claim because I have to deal with your thing. So that's always fun to have your opponent have to sit there and go, wait, pause, think, that sort of thing.
Totally.
So it's been a good time.
Yeah, and it's funny, right? Like when we were playing this, we were like, I guess Wrecker's not good here, right?
Yeah, it's weird,
it's such like a weird sensation to encounter.
Yeah. I'm still trying one, but yeah, obviously on the Cassian's flip turn, you don't want to start with Wrecker because you blow up a resource and now you can't flip. So be careful. But he does close out games sometimes. So I like having that one in the back pocket, so they're at least afraid of it.
Yeah, and speaking of like just the action cheating and the awkwardness, like Zayton Maj is really interesting where like imagine you could have like Fighters for Freedom out, you play him, get the ping from fighters, make it be safe, and not being able to be attacked while flipped, claim he's safe, and then the shenanigans. Yeah, exactly. Then you have a Delphi, you have Ahsoka, you have Fleet Lieutenant, you have the Outflank and Rebel Assault. You could on your flip turn, you could go like if you have Ahsoka out, you could go like Cinta into Ahsoka into Cassian. And then like I've had games where like you're basically taking one mega action per turn, right? And there's no other interaction whatsoever. You might still lose, but there's like there's no other interaction whatsoever. So really fun deck. And I know there's been a little pushback against his design in terms of like something that can't be killed. An initiative is such an arbitrary thing that doesn't lead to super positive play patterns, but I think it's really cool. I think it's really fun. To your point, I think that if we had to keep tally of the leader that had the most resources left up on a given turn versus it's going to be this deck at the end of the set, and I think it's really fun.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting.
He's the best looking showcase too, so he needs to be on the table.
Yeah,
it's a great way to attack the game in a different way. Like initiative sort of had important it was vaguely important multiple times throughout the game's life. But now with this guy, with games with him in it, you have to be extra cognizant of who has initiative when.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And he hits for 6, right? Like 6 is not insignificant amount. Like there's really not many leaders that have 6 power. Right. Like
I will say playing against him, I love having Force Lightning in my hands when Cassian.
Yeah, that's a good one. But really, really a solid leader that I think if you just look at it and say this is like not as good Sabine, I think you're doing it a disservice and you should take it out for a spin and try it out, because I think a lot of us on the team, not necessarily the 3 of us, but a lot of people like that was their first impression, and then after playing like 5-10 games, like, oh, okay, this is not that.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, and a lot of cool cards here for Sabine as well. Obviously, if you're looking to play more Sabine this set, Karis is a great new addition to that deck, and there's some other cool things like Jar Jar as well that you could mess with. So 3 decks as we're getting ready for Secrets of Power. We went through the leader tier list for some lessons learned. Sharkey, as we're known to do, let's leave him with a nugget, and then let's get out of here.
The nugget is sometimes things are better than you think they are. Give them a chance.
Okay. Sometimes that's about life too. You know, as we're pondering our existence in the this ever expanding universe that we live in, right? Speaking of that, we got a lot coming up on this ever expanding YouTube channel. Kyle, we got midday matchup coming up. What's on the docket for this week?
Yeah, I will say, you know, going back to our pre-releases there, I wanted to mention real quick that there was a lot of players, a lot of new players, and I thought that was awesome. So
Agreed.
Bravo. I hope that continues. But going back to the pre-release, my wife, you know, speaking of the Queen Leia there, being the best leader, she really enjoyed playing Leia. So then she immediately says, build me a constructed Leia deck and also get me a showcase. So I traded for a showcase, and she wants to play Leia. So we're going to try some Leia Data Vault. I'm kind of trying to take the Rey Data Vault shell and turn it into Leia. And then on my end, I've still been working a little bit on Padme Tarkin Town. So I had a few ideas on how to make that a little better and keep working on it. So I think that's what we're gonna be running some Leia Data Vault into some Padme Tarkin Town.
That sounds fun. I'll be watching that. On our end, like I said, we're going to Seattle next week. Flight permitted, as we hopefully get everything going. Keep us in your thoughts. But so we're working on that. Our noses are down, as they say. I think that's the expression. We've been really working. Yeah, there's been grindstones involved. We've been trying to make that work. So a lot of stuff going on there. This coming week, we're gonna make a little bit of a prep video as we're getting ready, but we're gonna also talk about like what we bring to events, like how we stock up for things, how we're approaching things that make our experience on the day a little bit better. And a hint, mine will be carbonated water for a large perspective of it. So we'll be talking about some of that stuff, and also just like how to get ready for big events as we come up. We got all of the PQs announced, the sectors and regionals. Hopefully we'll be able to see you guys out there at different events throughout the season, and a lot to happen. And as we get into Secrets of Power and another step towards rotation and galactics and all this stuff. And to Kyle's point, yeah, tons of new players, especially with like Riftbound and Gundam coming out and all these new pre-releases. We had some pre-releases of like 25, 26 people, really healthy, and you love to see that, especially when new competition comes in.
Agreed.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a good
excited
time
for this season of Swoo.
Yeah, and we're ecstatic for Atlanta. We got 6 of us coming down, or no, 8 of us coming down. So that'll be great, and we got a lot coming up here on the channel for you. So for Kyle and for Sharkey, I'm Jordan. Stay tuned, stick with us, and we'll see you next time.